$25,000 today, what would you do? Pay 2 years off your mortgage, escape the rat race for a while, buy a new car? If I gave you $25,000 today, what would you do? Pay
from yesterday. So another great day for traders here at Day Trade the World. Let's head over to the desk to start things off and say good morning to Valeria.
Good morning, Brendan, and hey guys, I wish you a great trading day, and we're here to make it only better. Please hit thumbs up and let's get it started, Brendan.
Yeah, lots to get through this morning. Thank you. We'll touch on DraftKings coming up. We have Tesla to talk about as well. Some of the clean energy names to get through. Neil mentioned that Lithium America, LAC, the ticker on that one on the watch list as well. But I want to start things off this morning touching on DraftKings, guys. We had a couple of news stories that came out during the show yesterday, in fact, on both Penn National and DraftKings when it comes to Michigan. Some more licenses coming through for both online activities and in-person gaming for both the state of Michigan and more in Texas, guys. So positive catalysts here once again for some of these gaming stocks.
This has been, this has just been an easy trade because you've known that, Joe Biden's coming in, the Democrats are coming in, then all this COVID spending that's been happening. The states federally and statewide need to raise capital, right? And they need to allow legalized gambling and try to tax on it. So I think it was just a play that was, bound to happen. And we've been long this name for a while. But see, it's still not really, I don't know, it's still not really moving. I mean, I'm in it. We're happy. We like DraftKings, but to me, it's got to break above this 56 before we even start to talk anything serious about it. The VWAP, the 50 period moving average, you can see here, that's what we use, is here at $50, $49.50. So that's some nice support there. I like the bottom bases here, 48 to 50. I love that we were talking before, 34 to 36, 37, and now we're using this as a base of operations down here. So look, I really like DraftKings. I've been a fan of it for a while, as you guys know. And then yesterday, look, we got some news, but this doesn't look like good news, right? I mean, from 54 all the way down and just continue to go down. This is that spike that we had a little bit. I tweeted that out. That's that Michigan news right here. From 51, looked like the bottom there, up to 52. So straight up about $1 before coming all the way back down. So I don't know. I think this move is probably a little bit overdone. I would actually, $53 on the short side doesn't look too horrible. If we are going to get excited about a long, I wrote down here 54.50, yesterday's high. So we got to get to there first. So it's going to be one or the other. But you know what? I mean, I just think up 5%. Seems a little bit overdone to me, but I'm going to look for a 53 break to the downside. However, I am not afraid to go long at 54.50. So I just still think, guys, we're stuck in a trap a little bit here, and I'm not going to be using heavy shares on DraftKings today either way. But hey, I like it for a long-term play for sure.
Yeah, at least DraftKings is up, right? I mean, GAN's actually dead flat, but it's a similar sort of story here, just sort of consolidating, 22.50 on the range in the week. And I can show you the 15-minute, 22.50, a bit of a support range in the week, and then a 25 top, heading back over to the daily chart. This was a great pick. It was one of those sort of lagging plays in the space. When it broke this like 18-19, we loved it, and Mark jumped in, I think a day or two after we were talking about this one. And it just has to, it's very similar to DraftKings. It has to break out that 25, and I wouldn't be shocked if it pulled back in here. It was nothing intentional. I know some people are joking around about the chat that we never actually mention Penn. Well, that's not true. We never actually bring up Penn Gaming, but just to show you the 15 on Penn. Now, I prefer GAN, and I would also probably prefer DraftKings as well. it's a very, very similar sort of range-bound trade, and they're only up 2.5% here, Penn itself, because of participating in that sell-off that Sean showed you in yesterday's trade. And it really just, this one has to break out as well. So it's going to be basically the same look. If this is what you're watching here, just know that psychological $100 level hasn't really mattered too much on Penn. The dip at 95 certainly gives you an opportunity there, but there's no hard and firm levels on Penn. I never really had any luck trading. I think I traded it once maybe. So I'll always stick to DraftKings, and I still like GAM when it breaks at 25. I think it's probably going to have some momentum through there as well.
Interesting, guys. I want to talk about Tesla in a second here, but I went back last night and did a little looking when it comes to inauguration day and also inauguration week when it comes to the stock market. It's been fairly muted. If you take away 2008 during the financial crisis, there's a big move down during that week, 10% move down. Historically, it's a range between a 2.5% decline to about a 5% increase for the overall market over the first 5 days during inauguration week. So a little bit muted. Maybe guys, thoughts going into today's session on the overall market here. What do we expect as far as action today?
I mean, just follow the money. Like the Nasdaq's up 0.95 here, the S&P's up 0.5%, and I just think, I mean, I have Bingo up here. If you guys want to buy it, it's on sale right now, down 17% on a share offering. But look, some people have said, I mean, I talked about Facebook yesterday, buying Facebook yesterday and 250. I rotated some money out of JP Morgan and into Facebook yesterday, so really happy with this. Look, Janet Yellen spoke yesterday, and I mean, she's been appointed, so she spoke. Mentioned low rates basically forever. I don't think that's a great environment for banks, and I think that's a great environment for tech. I think it's a great environment for growth. So I look at Facebook, I look at Apple here to go the rest of the day here today. Apple, again, I think Apple could be a hell of a lot higher than it is right now due to, again, some of that China rhetoric that was always spewed. Oh man, our charts still don't have the update here for the split. Oh yeah, and plus we have those wicks. But China back up to 130, or sorry, Apple back up to 130, 138, I think is definitely possible. Look, I would say today, I'm looking for hopefully a bright new future. That's sort of what people are talking about here. It's a new leaf. It's a turnover. We're just going to see what Biden can get done. I mean, some of the weed plays are there as well. But for the overall market, which you asked, Brendan, yeah. I mean, look, the trend is your friend here today. It's been upside since people started really coming in. Well, I guess we'll talk to Arun pretty soon, but a nice little base here at 13,050 straight up to the upside here. I like the NASDAQ today. I think, Joe Biden and the Democrats are very, hopefully tech friendly. I don't know, that's not really been the case with the Democrats, but I just think that unlocking China and unlocking some value here makes a lot of sense to me. So let's just wait to see, and especially the EV space. Like you said, if there's anything on sale, try to pick some of those up. BNGO's not EV, but NIO maybe as well. Could be something, electric vehicles, Biden. So I would sell a lot of the gas and oil plays here and move into some EV. But that trade's kind of done, right, Neil? I mean, we've seen that happen already.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, Biden came and killed Keystone right away, which I don't think really surprised anybody. And I do. There's probably going to be at some point another upswing in energy, and then some of the recovery names. I don't know whether that's going to be right here, right now. I mean, Sean, you mentioned some of the EV names there that I think are going to have to remain in play. I mean, you look at some of the slower ones like the Fiskars in there. I just want to, if I can, maybe throw up a Tesla. And again, we're right at that same like 850, 860. Lack of breakout sort of pivot area. This is not going to, of course, as Sean pointed out there, I got to zoom in on the daily chart just so you can see a little bit better. Yeah, this is not going to last forever. I mean, Tesla has been gearing up for a run to the top. So, if you're going to be playing in the EV space, it seems crazy to say, but don't forget about Tesla. Certainly, this is turned into like a buy and hold stock, but I think there are going to be some trades to be had. And the second we actually get this breakout, probably through like 880 or so, and up to like 900, I think it's going to be a fantastic day trade. I think, this turnover here that we're seeing, and, starting with today, the NASDAQ leading the way, and tech leading the way, and then some of the new sectors that we've been talking about here that will benefit from the new administration. Just remember that Tesla is the leader of that band. And at some point, it's going to start the march once again. And I'm not saying it's going to be today, but I've been avoiding it as a day trade. Now it's going to be on one of my charts on a daily basis, so we can try to avoid missing the big break when it comes.
So a couple things to be aware of when it comes to Tesla. Neil, reading my mind here. Tesla got two, not one, but two different upgrades today in price target increases. Oppenheimer, this one the biggest. Yeah, we're back to 1,000. So Oppenheimer slapping a street high price target of 1,036 on Tesla. We just saw the chart there. It's been impressive. We've talked about it a lot, obviously. The daily chart specifically to the upside. Sean, thoughts on Tesla here before we get going?
Oh, I was just getting some GameStop shares here. Get some GameStop shares if you're looking to go short. I do like a GameStop short if it does break through this 34. So let me just accept that and then go. Okay, Tesla here. Okay, let's look at that. And again, we have easy access here to shortable shares, right? So you got to watch out for that move on GameStop. Okay, look, this is the thing. We just talked about EV space. We talked about Tesla, NIO, some of those names. Neil just talked about Tesla. It's still in this little grouped up spot here, which is from 811 basically is the bottom. We're not going to see that today. So I'm looking at these tops. I mean, every single one of these wicks is basically 869, 870, the high 880. We've seen 885 already. These are all-time highs. So basically, regardless of what Tesla's at here, guys, we're at all-time highs. I mean, $860, this is good enough for me here. We are bunching up. I love the way that looks. We've talked about getting in on clusters, especially with our good friend, the stock father there. Coming through, not this week, but he'll be back next week. And look at this, 850, 856, it's a clump there, it's a clump here, there's a clump here, and every time it just goes up. You can't even find a chart of Tesla really moving to the downside. So I think it just keeps going higher, and I like it. But today, if we're gonna look at Tesla today, we're already up that 1.5%. I just think you got to play this long, man. Breaking through 858, it looks like it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think I'm going to go long right off the open on any, whatever the price is. But I got to wait for the open to hit, which is still 45 minutes away. Wow. So we still have a long ways to go. You're above this VWAP, which is 856. I would say, again, there's a little bit of area of support down here, 840 to 845. So either way, you have about $10 worth of risk if you wanted to give it back down to that spot. So I would say it's worth a long here heading into what should be, another profitable year for Tesla. I mean, more to come. And, I just have this weird feeling. And again, I don't know. I could put our members out here to task, but is there a limit on how many times you can split a stock in a calendar year? Because honestly, we saw what the split did. It literally rifled this thing hundreds of percent to the north side just when the split was announced, right? I mean, I can show you the chart, show you that chart after. Tesla's up, what, 750% year over year from its March bottoms. It's been an absolutely fantastic run. And I get a feeling that this probably gets split again. And if it does, like if they announce a split, let's just say they announce a split today, tomorrow this thing trades north of 1,000. So you tell me who wants to be short Tesla, and I'll tell you not this guy.
Michael Burry.
One more here. We'll talk about Tesla a little bit more coming up, I'm sure, during the show as we, 1,038 price target there from Oppenheimer. But this one, big crazy mover from yesterday, ACRS, Aclaris Therapeutics, just coming out with an offering. So if you're looking at ACRS, heads up, 5.5 million share offering at $7.50 per share. So 5.5 million shares at, $17.50 per share, not $7.50. If you remember, this thing went from $6, to $19 yesterday, guys.
Yeah, it's a share offering kind of day. You talked about bingo. I think Gevo as well is going to be another one. We always mention, it's all about how well they're received. So anytime you see catching a bid off of these, you got to play the sort of I guess the bullish side. I mean, for me, usually I'm going to see this setup, and it was looking like ACRS was going to be a short for me at one point today. That would have been, right around like 7 o'clock when, the volume came in, tried to push it through yesterday's high. All a good sign here, breaks at 20, comes right back down. That's going to be a weak sign usually, but it couldn't get past the next level. It bounced off 18, so we're still looking rather bullish on this name. If it gets through like an 18 level, I think I'd be a little bit more involved there. I think when you're playing these offerings, I think it's a bit of a tricky game because some of the old rules where, you're just going to sit around on weakness and they're not going to move on that day. They'll find a bit of bid support. There'll be lots of buy sides in and around those prices. None of that really seems to happen much anymore. So some of these turn into momentum plays on the offering day. And that sort of brings me, if I can, like to BNGO. And it's not to say that bingo, is the kind of thing that goes up forever, but it already has tried to catch a bit of a bid here, and this is sort of what I'm talking about, like receiving it well. $7 on Bingo. There was a pullback last week off of right around this price on a major dip. So the fact that it's held 7 at least so far seems like a bit of a positive sign here. One other note, I did just jump. I scalped AMC a couple of times. I just want to very, very quickly say some of this is based on level 2. There was a 325 a little bit earlier in the session that was a bit of an iceberg, was a break. So that's the reason I like that price. At 350, there was some gamesmanship at the top of that break. Someone was bidding, layering 100,000 share orders to push it through 350 and then pulled, subsequently, causing the stock to fall back down. So I kind of feel like it was somewhat manipulated to come back in. That's why I like the long in front of 325. It's a pure scalp play. I won't hold this if it breaks 325 and look for another trade after the open.
All right, I just wanted to show something this. I thought this was pretty cool. We just posted this up on our Instagram. I thought this was a nice one here. A couple goats here. This should be Brendan here, but Trader TV Live. Check us, follow us on Instagram as well. It's kind of a fun little story there. And I saw that Kevin O'Leary now following, so now I have direct access to get to him, and it should be a good one. So follow us on Instagram as well. And yeah, I'm still looking at this Tesla. It looks like it may break this 858 even before we start. I'm not going to take any shares in this name in the pre-market, but you can if you want. I like an 858 break there on Tesla. And I just told some of my friends, again, you got to stop bothering me, boys. I'm on the show here. They were saying, do we pick up some BNGO here, down 18%? I know Neil was just talking about it. If you like the stock, this is a great opportunity. So, I mean, it came out, I think it was $6, bought right back up almost immediately. So, a nice little move on BNGO. I think that's pretty strong. 770 break on BNGO looks promising to me.
Yeah, guys, we're going to get to Netflix coming up right now. In fact, if you haven't done so already, make sure you open up the watch list, guys. We send it out every single morning before we come on at 8:30, talking about all the stocks moving around in the pre-market and a little on why they are moving. We will kick things off with Netflix today. Big move both in the aftermarket yesterday and in the pre-market here this morning. It was the sub number. 8.51 million paid subscribers, handily beating the 6.1 million estimate for the current quarter for Netflix. But nice report otherwise for Netflix as well. Up huge, guys.
Yeah, well, the other key thing, of course, is no more debt financing. So it's big-time positive wins for Netflix. You're going to see it we're not actually there yet. 575 and change would represent the high. It has sold off from this level each time we've gotten there, and rather sharply. This is a little bit of a different push into this range, just given the nature of the move off of earnings here. The first thing I was looking to do, it was just simply play the simple chart and the resistance, and then look for a breakdown on Netflix just to see if it doesn't sort of pull back a little bit, fill in some of this gap. Let me just pull a 1 minute so you can. Oh, that's annoying. And my first thought was just looking if you kind of see what we've held here. This is like a 567.50 area. I was looking to see a breakdown trade. I don't love the idea of just sitting in front of 575 and going short. I think certainly that's going to be a nice little breakout trade when it does occur. If that's today, fantastic. If it's not, I'd much prefer like a rollover or a breakdown trade if I have to short Netflix today, as that way it would fill in the gap. Otherwise, I think it's like 575.37 is the actual top. I did actually write it down here. 75 also works as an even round number. Don't sleep on Disney as well. I read kind of an interesting article which made a really good point that I never really thought about, that Netflix is like the old dog because they're the ones not needing a debt. They're the ones talking about buybacks. When on the other flip hand, you've got Disney, which hasn't yet, but has been considering, of course, scrapping their dividends so they can reinvest in growth streaming, which makes sense when you're innovating in the growth stages. But Netflix is sort of on the other end of it, and Disney, the more established company, but yet here we are in the streaming space, and it's kind of flipped around.
Yeah, Netflix, again, I wrote down nothing on Netflix because I just wanted to see the action on that. I've noted also, I talked to Brendan last night when the report came out. Netflix generally, on the day that after it reports, I've noticed, we've traded here a couple times now, been doing the show for a while, just noticed that it hasn't traded very well the day after. So we'll just wait to see. I mean, it's a huge monster beat. I love it because it's also propelling Disney, like Neil just mentioned there. Disney actually has rocketed up. I got to portfolio manage here a little bit because Disney is now the #1 holding in my portfolio because I was able to pick some up at a great price. And now $5.68 coming into play here on Netflix. Let's just see if it takes out yesterday's bottom there, $5.64. But I mean, that's not even the bottom. It's just where I stopped at the chart. So $5.68 here in the pre-market. That's been the bottom. I like that, but again, you know, it's a pretty tight range. So for this is what I'm talking about. For a $500 stock, like $5.74 to the high side, $5.68 to the bottom. So it's very, very tight. Let's just see what happens. I think some people are underinvested in Netflix, so I expect this one to go. I don't think there's going to be a high shortage on it. I know Brendan's at the screen. We can figure that out in a minute, but I think $5.75 is probably going to be a good spot to go long.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I haven't looked at that for quite some time on Netflix. Here we go, guys. Some upgrades and downgrades. Yep, Netflix on here. I mentioned Oppenheimer. $1,038 price target for Netflix now. Tesla back on here as well. We'll talk about Tesla more. DraftKings, Boeing on this side of things. I haven't mentioned Beyond Meat for quite some time, but Beyond Meat catching a downgrade. Bloom Energy, Michaels, and Kroger. Guys, a couple from the retail space on the downgrade side.
Ogre. No, we're just actually, even Tesla as well. I kind of, when we're talking about Tesla, I did see it on the screen, so I kind of knew it was coming up there. We haven't really talked a heck of a lot about Boeing here, but I think, whoops, why is Beyond Meat in my, and that's why. There you go. Let's fix my quote board there so you can actually see Beyond Meat on the NASDAQ, of course. That always like throws me a little bit. It's been, I don't know what the best word for it here on Beyond Meat. Come on, daily chart. We'll go to the 15 minutes so you can see a little better. It's been a bit range bound, and this is not the first stock that I'll show you today that has this sort of like, you know, previous break, making a very, very clear bottom here at a 136. And then you get an upgrade in the middle of this range while it's doing essentially nothing, and we're actually down a little bit here. In the event that this is an opportunity for people to take profit, I think this 136 is the only thing I'll be watching today. It's like $3 away from it right now, so like we're bouncing off of that level. But if we get down to like a 136 and Beyond Meat is sort of lingering there, giving you an opportunity at like 10 o'clock or a little bit after that little morning rush, that'll be a little spot that I'll try to take some shares in. Just one note: I'm gonna be covering AMC into that 350 area. It's a scalp trade, like I was saying before. So you know, get that like 5, 10, 15 cent win type of idea off that 325 long. But Beyond Meat, it's really like 136 that I'll be watching if we ever get down there. I'd rather play the range in a stock that I feel like hasn't been as crazy than, you know, sort of have like actionable, this is what I'm doing at the open, blah, blah, blah. Let's see what happens when it actually gets to this price. It's given you some good bounce opportunities before. If the pattern emerges again, there's a profit to be had there.
I was looking here at Netflix now breaking through 575, and it actually
broke now?
Yeah, exactly. Break up, yeah. It went to 596, so it almost goes straight up $1 right now. And I just got in, so I just got in a very, very small amount here at 575 even, 575.09. Now, again, I don't, this is just a testing spot just to see what happens. I'm going to hold this all the way back down to the bottom. It's not a big position, but I mean, a loss is still a loss. So let's see what happens through 567. Like I said, I just think that there's, you know, not that people are caught short, that's not the issue. I just think that this was very, very unexpected. And I just wonder if people are going to get more money into this name here than out of it. So let's just wait to see. And again, look, the spread, this is what I'm talking about. The spread opens up. You got 70 cents right now. So it's not looking good, but that's fine. It's a very, very light position. And we'll probably use somewhere around here, 565 or so, as our out on the bottom. Let's take a shot here with Netflix, guys.
All right, guys, let's talk about Alibaba. Big move, first off, over in China overnight to the upside. We're seeing North
around
American
here, 565 or so.
Continue
as
on that
on the
path
bottom.
to the upside this morning. After months of lying low, as the company said, Jack Ma made his first appearance and comments in regards to some of the financial regulators in China yesterday at an event. So Alibaba catching a pop on that, guys.
Look, I mean, I was going to make Alibaba. I talked about this, the play of 2021, and then all of a sudden, its co-founder went missing. But so this is basically where we started to buy Alibaba in the first place. I think my first long was 262 and change. I don't really, you know, when you're investing for a long-term play, guys, you don't need to listen to all that, you know, temporary noise. I mean, we know what Alibaba's all about. You know, we know the product. We know that they're crushing it, and we'll just continue with Alibaba. And I just think that that's something that, and congratulations to Greg as well, that bought in the 230s with me as well. And I mean, just look at the move that it's had to the upside. I posted again. on my Twitter. Follow me at Trader TV Sean. We posted some of these plays down here for you. This is exactly the kind of investing that I do. So not only am I buying calls and stuff in AMC, but we're also trying to make some plays for long term. And this looks a lot to me, like the bottoms that we invested in the first place. So this is why we got some 260s in the first place, because we saw this little, bunch there. We fell back down. We hung out here for a while. Jack Ma goes missing. The thing goes all the way down here, 215. That's kind of like a little bit of a joke. It's not that anyone really thought he was missing, I don't think, but who knows? Chinese government. And then our best buy is down here, 223. Look at this consolidation. Then we bought some more, hoping for a breakout, which it did. So we bought some more at 237. Then yesterday, bang, 245. And now today, you're back right back up to this level. So I think that's great. I think now we use bottoms of 250. That would be a break back down below this area. And look, I said it already. We started the show off by saying, where can we put our money? What's going to happen with this new administration? Today's the day. Joe Biden's speech coming. We pray for a safe and successful turnover. But, once that happens, you're going to see some Chinese names come back into play. We've already seen Pinduoduo's going crazy, Baidu's going crazy, and I just think Baba's the next shoe to fall here. I'm heavily invested now. I like it, and I think we go back to all-time highs. I don't see why. They sold like $100 trillion. That's obviously not true, but during Singles Day, they're still crushing it. Alibaba, they still have Ant Financial to go. I talked about Ant Financial with you guys back down here when it got shelved. That's part of this initial drop there. And then, of course, the regulators came in and snatched up Alibaba and attempted to, I guess, kidnap Jack Ma. That's a hilarious story. But 268, 260, like imagine if Zuckerberg was all of a sudden missing. 269 here, break to the upside. I'm going to leave Alibaba alone today for a day trade, but if it does break above that 270 area, that gets me excited. Alibaba there, BlackBerry, Neil, your phone still going crazy there. And then AMC up, 1.8 million. But look, you got to like Alibaba. It has been a great investment. So let's just keep going with it.
Yeah, I was going to show the day that, of course, Baba had that ridiculous run to the downside. We were actually day trading it to the long side. The comment that I tried to make about Alibaba, and I apologize for this little wick here you see on Amazon up to 6,000. It's never really happened. But if you look at the run Amazon has been on, and you sort of compare the growth in Amazon stock relative to the growth in this business, and you do the same comparison with Alibaba, it's basically been a value the entire time. So everything about that trade before, nothing really changed. Amazon has continued to basically sit here consolidating at the top, while Alibaba was in that pullback. And I think it's just one of those things where if you saw tomorrow, and I can't make up a headline for you here, but if you saw tomorrow that Ethereum was down like 25%, and Bitcoin hadn't moved, and there was a story that made absolutely no sense to you fundamentally, you'd probably be looking at a value buy. And I think that's part of the story when it comes to Alibaba there. And at some point, it's gonna catch up. I think that's why it's been a sort of a long-term hold. I actually, when you said hands off there, I don't have a trade on Alibaba today at all. I'm definitely gonna be looking more at Netflix, which I do see is right back at that 575 there, Sean.
All right, guys, let's bring in Arun here. We'll have a look at the overall market, see what levels we need to be aware of as far as the futures are concerned. Arun. We'll let that go. Arun has been around long enough to be witness to a couple of inaugurations, I believe, more than one at least. Typically, Arun, this day, as I mentioned, I went back last night and looked at some prior inauguration days and weeks. Fairly muted price action around these events.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? When uncertainty happens, it's tend to drift, if not to the downside. But in this case, we are drifting to the upside, light volume. But that can change on a dime. A lot of things can happen very quickly, especially on a day like today, where there's a lot of uncertainty involving security, right? So for the lease. So in terms of levels, we still got that 38.25. That's been in place since last week. If we can get above 38.50, we are drifting to the upside. So if we can get above 38.50 and kind of settle in, I think we really have a chance to test that 25. But in terms of technical setups, I'm not seeing anything that I can really work with. And my closest level that I'm willing to go long in front of is 37.65. That's a level I gave you guys yesterday. And since then, there's not enough activity for me to declare any new levels that I'm comfortable with. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the market ride out. If we get above 15 and we want to test the 25s, fine. But if we're gonna do that, I'm gonna want to see if we can actually find a base, whether it's to the buy side or to the sell side. If we find some selling activity, some setups to the sell side, then I have that 38.25 to use as the stop. If we declare new levels as we're drifting up and kind of testing down, what I mean by levels or declaring new levels is we got to go down, we got to find a level we're not willing to get past, and then check a few times to see if we're actually going to hold above it. And if we hold above it and go back up, then I can be comfortable saying, you know what, that's a level for me. I'm willing to go long if we break 25 to the upside and use that as a stop. But for now, 38.25 is the closest level we've got, and then 37.65 is the bottom end. Again, things can change very quickly. Just because it's sleepy now doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to stay that way, especially after the open. Keep in mind, noon is the go time pretty much for a transition. So keep an eye on what happens around noon. That usually is the quietest time of the day, but today might be a little different.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Arun. We'll check back in again tomorrow as we head towards the open. Guys, under 30 minutes now before markets get going here on the Eastern time zone. Let's jump down to BlackBerry next. We've mentioned this past couple of days, 4 days in a row now, to the upside for BlackBerry. There's been a number of catalysts surrounding this company and the stock. We had a deal or a dispute with Facebook that was finalized and put to the side, a royalty dispute. We also had some patents that were sold to Huawei when it comes to smartphones. They still have quite the library of patents, to say the least, as we mentioned yesterday. But another day to the upside here, guys, for BlackBerry.
There was a point when I making the joke about never owning an Apple phone and loving the stock and having a BlackBerry and never owning the stock. That actually, it used to be smart. It used to be kind of funny to be able to say. Now it's like, yeah, so much for ignoring this one. There is a bit of you talked about the catalyst there, Brendan. Of course, there was a patent, the Amazon deal. I don't know how much the patent play is the driver so much as just maybe like a jump off point. And we saw that. We saw it late last year when this all started, and then right back into support eventually at like 650. So exactly where the break started, it eventually came back in. With that same thesis, it would be easy to say, okay, at some point we're going to come back to like the $9 to 10 area. If that's going to be true, it doesn't seem like that's going to be today. I was jokingly saying to Brendan, I wonder when the short report's going to come out on BlackBerry. My guess is 1 or 2 days after it's had a big retracement. Either way, you're still probably looking at breakouts. It's a tight consolidation, but it's still higher than previous close. It had one intraday pullback, but there hasn't been, and that was immediately bought up yesterday, of course. So it hasn't really had that gap down and then sort of fall yet, which I think at some point you're likely to see. I look at this 13.25; it's an even level. It gives you a break opportunity. I think maybe if it were to fall, you're looking at like a 12. Those are two sort of obvious prices that I had written down. So 12 to 12.30, I should say, is a bit of a range. So I'll be looking for the breakout trade on BlackBerry today. You're just playing a pure momentum here at this point. The day it rolls over, I'm definitely going to be try to be involved. I'm going to put in the back of my mind that at some point that 9 to 10 area could come all the way back into play. It's not seeming very likely. It actually might settle higher than that, especially if this continues for a few more days.
So you're taking that break through 13.25?
Yeah, it's the thing about it, actually, you might remember this when we started on the show. Before we did YouTube, there was a trade on anytime you had a volatile stock or like a big gap or whatnot, and you got a tight pre-market range. Taking a break like this gave you a bit of a tight stop area here, so you could use even $13. You can use the bottom here at like a 12.75. It gave you some obvious sort of targets, and I like to be able to know exactly where I'm wrong on a trade first. But actually, I should get that order in right now because it looks like we just tested like 22.23, so I don't want to miss this one.
Yeah, no, I was just asking because I was going to try to take this long as well if it does break. And look, let's just play the momentum. I mean, I have no idea. You're up 6.5%. Oh, you know what? I changed my charts to try to fix these things here. And I don't have on here absolute change. There we go. Maybe that's what's missing. So you're up 85 cents here today, 6.92%, 7%, let's call it that. 13.25 coming into play again. We saw what it did yesterday off the open. We had some big winners. Yeah, I mean, we've made enough money that we can maybe buy a they're not making new phones, right? It's just the operating system, I guess, and all those patents that they're selling. This was yesterday, so we had a base, and then we broke it, and I think that's kind of what we're looking for today. So it's building this base yesterday. The only problem is yesterday it was 10 to 1050 was the base before breaking out to 11.20. And now today, I feel like you're getting kind of the same base there. And see, there it goes. My stop order did not.
Yeah, I just went in manually because my stop didn't trigger, but I was able to get 26s there on a manual trade. So I am in BlackBerry, but not because my stop actually hit there. So we're just going to try and play the momentum. I'll try to scalp a portion of this. Obviously 1350 looms large as a psychological level to the upside, but we've seen what this thing can do before, and it's worth holding a portion.
We'll move on to the next one here. Jump down to Procter & Gamble. A couple of earnings reports to get through. P&G and also Morgan Stanley reporting this morning. Better than expected results for Procter & Gamble, benefiting from higher demand for cleaning products, obviously, during the pandemic. They also increased their full-year sales forecast and also increased their full-year 21 per share forecast as well, which was very positive initially, but we're seeing PG back to the downside here this morning.
Yeah, I'm just messaging our IT team here because I mean, if these stops aren't going to work, it's going to be very, very dangerous to trade here in the pre-market. But okay, we'll go on because that's not your guys' problem. That's my problem. Okay, Procter & Gamble up nicely. Look, I mean, this is not a day trade. I love Procter for a longer-term hold. Obviously, I think that they're in the right space. Now, the thing about Procter & Gamble is very, very simple. You know, right now, I don't think it's a reopening play at all. So, because again, I think Procter was a little bit fire. You can see the stock, not a little bit, I mean, it was. It caught fire here from these bottoms. Let me see if I can zoom out more. You can even see, like, these are big moves here for Procter from the bottom. 101 up to 145. You know, this is kind of just a bellwether stock. The only thing is here, you've seen it struggle now that the vaccine is coming through, and it's basically 140 to 135, and now we get the breakdown. It's just less people at home, you know, less of their products being bought. I mean, it is what it is. I think that's probably the rhetoric there that we can go with. And then, like I said, if you zoom back this a little bit more, we are breaking down out of this range. It had to hold 135 right there. It didn't. So the last couple of days, it's been breaking down. So I would say that this is a sell today, no matter what. You can see what's happened here. I guess people have agreed with me on that one. I think Procter & Gamble's a sell. I don't even have it written down on ye old sheet here, so I'm not going to be trading this one too much today, but it is 293,000 shares. And if I look back here, it's not on the imbalance locator. AMC still running the show right now, up to 238. How much is that, 10% now? Yeah, just crossed 10%. So Procter, for me, hands off, but I do like the trade if you're going to start to build a portfolio. That dividend is safe, it's strong, but honestly, like if you're going to play dividends, man, I like J&J, I like a whole bunch of different names. I always talk about those, so stay tuned for more. Even a softie or an Apple.
Procter is a good one, Sean. I mean, the thing I will say about this is because it was such a stay-at-home type of, it's kind of a stay-at-home play. You do look at when it got back to the March highs and it got to this like 126, 127 before that breakout. And so all over it when it comes back down there. I mean, if it continues this trend and you can buy in front of that 125, I think that just looks like an absolutely gorgeous spot to wait around for. I just scalped a little bit off BlackBerry. There was 100,000 seller that showed up at 30 for a brief moment. I didn't see whether it got filled or whether they're just messing around, but it is still at buy and balance. It's trying to churn higher, but the momentum a little bit sluggish here, but there's still 18 minutes to the open, so we can hang on.
All right, guys, we'll talk Morgan Stanley here. We've had pretty much all of the big banks now reporting. Morgan Stanley posting a 57% rise in fourth quarter profit, easily topping estimates similar to Goldman, benefiting from higher trading revenue during the quarter. Net revenue, $13.6 billion in the quarter. That was compared to $10.8 billion in the same period last year for MS.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sort of after there was, you know, the stress test. Of course, we talked about that particular catalyst. So you've essentially got a good return already. You got your 15% return here. We did not break out of this 74 to 77 range. I mean, it's just even with, and this tends to happen with the banks. And if you're the late one reporting, you know, the bigger and better moves tend to happen with the first a few, and you might have seen that sort of already play out. We're up a couple of percent, but until you break out of the 74, 77, probably not going to be worth too much of anything on Morgan Stanley. If anything, it gets sold off. Maybe it's going to be a bit of a swing down and around that 74 price. I'm gonna be hands off on this one. I think there's some sense to, and this I mean, if you're not into Bank of America, there's some sense that, you know, maybe you could trim one of the better names here and then pick up a laggard, put some money into a laggard like Bank of America. We'll see if that actually bears out. I like Morgan Stanley still. I just think if you didn't take profit, you know, from that December trade, today's not a horrible day to do it. Certainly, you're not seeing a heck of a lot of follow through. There'll be a breakout at some point. I'm not betting on it happening today here in Morgan Stanley.
Yeah, I like 77. I mean, we've been talking about Morgan versus JP versus Goldman versus all these jokers all in one basket here. And yeah, we knew Morgan Stanley's trading side would be big, and it was. So again, congratulations. Only up that 1.73%. Like I said, might not be great for day trading. You see how choppy it's been. It hasn't been great, although that's a nice move there. And what was this? That was a nice move, and then a bottom before reaching new highs there. So this is a good little level to play off of for sure, 76. So if we can get down there, looks like we're coming down right now. But the banks haven't been a great trade. I mean, look at JP Morgan as well. Lately, it's not really doing much here on the 3-minute chart. You're up a little bit, chop, 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 chop. Even since the earnings report there, the banks have come down a little bit. This is JP Morgan. Let's check out Morgan Stanley there. A nice little run to the high side. It's been great. Like I recommended JP Morgan sub 100. That's only a 40% move. I guess the moves are the same. This is 50. There's the base up to 75. So I think there's profit taking. This is 73 right there. A little ways to go before that. Banks are exciting, but not exciting for me to make this trade today. There's just too many other things happening. GM, BABA, AMC, BlackBerry, Tesla, things like that. Let's just check back in before we go back to Brendan here on Tesla quickly. Still 598 to the high side, or sorry, 859. 598, like reading the numbers the wrong way there. 859, I think we could get this break, guys. That's 862, 863. I like Tesla here. It's starting to go. Look at the NASDAQ. And again, we started the show, Brett, and we said, what do you think the market's going to do? I said we're just going to keep going higher, it looks like, today with, I think, some of those NASDAQ names. I put in a bid in my own account before the show started, compliance, so don't worry, to get some Facebook, and it missed. I was trying to buy some 265s. I didn't get filled on that one. So Facebook, I think, is off to the races today, guys. Look at the NASDAQ still bumping higher. It's going to be a big day, I feel.
All right, speaking of higher, AMC, we mentioned over the past couple of days, they announced yesterday they raised an additional $100 million in secured debt to help with operations going forward. Obviously, not too many people going to theaters anytime soon, guys, but we've seen quite the move here for AMC over the past couple of days.
Hell yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, so I bought calls in this the last couple of days. Actually, not the last couple of days. It was Friday down here. I bought some calls, and yeah, it's been a monster. I'll look to get them out today, though, guys. I mean, it's been a huge run up. We did touch that 350. The thing about AMC is it's just, again, it's a play on, okay, let's go BlackBerry. Here we go. It's a play on the reopen, and that's it, right? So I don't know. They're still in debt. They still have a lot of problems. They just got some refinancing yesterday. That caused a little bit of a boom up there. I think this stock is 1 or 2 upgrades away from getting to that $4 mark. And I know there's a lot of you guys looking, and these are beautiful bottoms, right? Like, if I didn't have calls, I would probably stay in. It's just they expire at some point. So you got to watch out for this move to the high side. They're actually the end of February. So I do have a lot of room here. I think, we're above that 50 period. I know it's all falsified. Someone yesterday said, Sean, you got to mention Wall Street Bets. You got to mention Reddit. You got to mention the fact that these stocks are getting hyped up. But do I really? I mean, if you're watching the show, you know about this. There's short squeezes on top. We ask Brendan all the time for the short interest in some of these names. And it's getting squeezed up there. And I just think that if you're not educated about it, then you could get caught. So I cannot recommend buying unless you're just going to play for the momentum to go to the high side. Like, I can't recommend buying and holding. I would never hold this stock unless you're playing options overnight, because you could wake up the next day and you're down that 20, 30%. As long as you understand that that's the risk that you hold, then I think this is a fun game, and I like playing it. So we're long right now. That top is 350. You guys know I love 50s. I lost a hell of a lot of money going long off the open yesterday and then made a decent amount back. So let's see. Maybe it does fall into this 3 area and we can pick some up on the cheap. But I like a 350 break if it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that 350, like, there was some gamesmanship this morning I was mentioning with some of the order flow off that 350 level. Certainly, if you're looking for a healthier company, we've talked about Cinemark. Every single time AMC used to pop, like, the first thing out of our mouths was like, watch Cinemark there and see if it's worth a better opportunity to buy and hold. If there's a big break and if there's a big time squeeze, I've scalped along. I'll be out of it if it breaks that 350 and into a new trade potentially. But if we do get another breakout, I'm going to be looking at that 450 level. Those have been following long enough. Several times we've played around with that level to the short side, and then way earlier in the summer there was some really, really good support, and then a breakout through that same 450 price. So if it gets there, I think it's going to be another actionable trade. It would take a lot because we're $1 away from that range, but with these sort of squeeze plays, you never really know what can happen when it comes to momentum.
All right, we did mention we were going to double check the short interest on Netflix. It's actually very small, 1.7% for Netflix. Going to check on BlackBerry here in a second as well, but Netflix only 1.7% on the short side. Baidu, guys, more positive developments when it comes to the Baidu going into the EV space this morning. They announced a deal with WM Motors to mass produce pure electric sports utility vehicles that have autonomous parking. So they already have this product developed that will park your car for you if you don't feel like you want to, I guess.
There's a joke in there that I shouldn't make, but interesting thing, Baidu here. If you look at the not the daily, but the 15-minute chart, the daily might show you the same picture. You're sort of looking at this top that just has been faded hard every single time. You get to this like 257, 258, and there's just been sharp pullbacks. So we're geared up for another test today. I have 257.50 written down as sort of like, it's going to be that like line in the sand price. If we break this, it just feels like Baidu every single time has been a short off of that level. If you catch it, you give it to like this 261 top in the pre-market, or like to 260 even, whichever you like. And then if we actually break out, you can use it as a bit of a support level. So it's a very similar trade. Now, Baidu is not a name that I would take in the pre-market. I usually stay away from it. There's a 9-cent spread. Usually it might be a little bit bigger than that, but I've never had any success with this one getting in pre-market. The one time I did, it was just an absolute sort of gong show. But still holding on to that BlackBerry. I think Baidu, if it gets much like that Netflix sort of idea, if it does break that low at the open, it could be a bit of a pullback here. But overall, I like these tight consolidations on a gapper play where the risk to reward in either direction is pretty good, and Baidu has the catalyst as well.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Palantir, guys. I see a lot of people asking about Palantir here, and congratulations again to anybody that's in this name with me. You're up another 2.5% today. Hopefully 2.5. That was 2.25 there, 2.25. Look, it's breaking out. Obviously, we've talked about that. These little bottoms, we were buyers down here. This is where we're long down here, embarrassingly low. But hey, we'll take it. It's always nice to have wins. And then now Palantir, it still needs this 29.25. Like it needs to get up here. But yeah, we're celebrating that win. You guys want to talk about it? There's that 2.5%. Look, I'm hoping that we can buy it near VWAP right here, near 27 and change. But it is breaking to the high side right now. We did stop at 28 yesterday, or 2 days ago, sorry. That was a long, we had this whole long, by the way, all the way. We actually long in the pre-market down here somewhere 2 days ago, had this whole thing out of the long side. And then if you look at what happened yesterday, it was starting to ramp up here in the pre-market, very similar to what's happening today. And then you get an explosion from 26.50 up to 27.50 basically, and then stopped on a dime and came back in. Yes, sir. Just took a nice little 15-cent win there. Well, now it's 15 cents in the money, 10-cent win on BlackBerry to start the day, so that's a good start for us. And yeah, so I don't know, 27.50 looks very nice to me again. That's that high yesterday. Again, I mean, we just broke that spot there, 27.15. That would have been a fantastic long. 8 minutes to go. Still early. I don't want to see this take out 27.50 right off the open. I'd rather it kind of hang out here a little bit and then blast it. So that's what I'm looking for to happen on Palantir. Is it even on here? Yes, just another day with another bid side there on Palantir. Check out BlackBerry. Nice little out there. This is a 3-minute, oops. This is a 3-minute chart, so we'll look at a 1. I do have some orders to get out, of course, ahead. I thought I was at 45. Where did I get filled? I got filled 39 there, so 10 cents on that, like I said. And then we did go to 45, which was giving us that 15 cents that we talked about. We do have another offer upside as well. So things looking pretty good here as we're already making money on that BlackBerry train. And then Netflix, nah. Just doing nothing. We are here on a 275 break, waiting for it to happen. We're going to use this bottom, 265. We're going to let this one go a little bit. Come on, BlackBerry, let's go. Let's break that 40, 41, 42, and then giddy up on this one to the high side.
All right, guys, we talked about DraftKings and Penn early on this morning. If you joined us right at 8:30, let's touch on them again. Let's come up with a plan here as far as how we can approach trading both DraftKings and Penn today. A number of positive catalysts over the past couple of sessions for both of these. DKNG back to the upside today.
Yes, sir. And look, we talked about this one, well, a little bit at length. We even mentioned Penn for the first time in like a million years.
What's the difference between NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange? Not sure? Get a $200.
This trade is going to be, if you're going to play it as a day trade, you're going to be looking for the range-bound trade. Just looking at the daily chart, you're still waiting for that 56 break, as Sean has already told you. The only other thing I would maybe have at least a little bit of interest in is this sort of like 54, 50 area. So on the daily, you see that 56 top and looking for potential breakout there. In the event that we can't get to that price, there's always a shot at a quick little like scalp rollover off of this area, 54.50 into this like 55. It was a bit of a turnaround point. Of course, you had the failed break to that high, potentially finally breaking that 56. It fails, consolidates at 55, and then you get the drop. So you might have some resistance in that little price range for a quick little short opportunity. It's very likely that I'll find a safer play in a small cap name if I see a setup like that. So I'm going to have DraftKings up. It's not necessarily going to be the go-to notion for the trade, but that's probably the only thing I'll see, unless you get some kind of a crazy dip, which I'm not expecting to see us dip down.